Surfing the plastic tide, warriors of the waves. In a future where the symphony of the sea was disrupted by a chorus of crackling plastic, the ocean surfaces were no longer just water, but a canvas of vivid, unnatural colors. The once blue planet had become a spectacle of human folly, a place where the litter of centuries morphed into something sentient, something mournfully alive. As the sun cast its last golden rays over the altered waves, Kailani stood on the shores of her childhood, her heart heavy yet determined. She was not alone in her resolve. By her side were Jesse, Lila, Miguel, and Zoe, each marked by a journey that led them here, to the edge of the known, where the waves whispered secrets of despair and defiance. Their silhouettes against the setting sun were like guardians of the old tales, each bearing a unique gift in the fight against the tides of neglect. Kai, with her intimate knowledge of the surf, could read the waves like ancient scripts. Jesse, whose life was once measured in the thrill of championships, now sought redemption in understanding the science behind the sentient waves. Lila, small in stature but immense in intellect, carried her latest invention, a device designed to translate the murmurs of the ocean. Miguel, whose past was tainted by oil and remorse, stood ready to combat the legal tempests. Zoe, her notes filled with the grim poetry of pollution, prepared to apply her marine insights directly to these living waters. Together they stepped towards the water, their surfboards under their arms, their spirits fused by a shared mission. The ocean called to them, not just as a challenge to be conquered, but as a mystery to be solved and a friend to be saved. As they paddled out into the colorful abyss, the plastic waves churned around them, whispering of the ruin of their world and perhaps hinting at the hope of restoration. This was no ordinary evening on the water. It was the beginning of an epic saga, a confrontation with the very essence of their planet's plight. The surfers knew the journey ahead would be fraught with more than just physical dangers. They would need to navigate the complex language of an ocean in distress, decode its warnings, and devise a way to restore its health. But for now, as they caught their first wave, riding the vibrant swells, they rode not just for sport, but for survival, and for the faint but fervent hope of healing the heart of their world. The dawn was barely breaking, and the beach already buzzed with the energy of the team. Kai's silhouette outlined against the lightening sky was a picture of determination as she surveyed the seas with her experienced eyes. Jesse, meanwhile, squinted at the ocean, jotting down notes on his clipboard about the undulating patterns of the plastic waves, trying to predict their next move. Nearby, Lila tinkered with a peculiar-looking device, her latest invention designed to translate the frequencies emitted by the sentient plastic into something comprehensible. "We need to understand them, not just ride them," Lila murmured, her voice almost drowned by the sound of the waves. Her device, a sophisticated network of sensors and receivers, was strapped onto each of their boards. She had explained that it would collect data on the waves' movements and the surrounding water's chemical composition, helping them to interact more effectively with the plastic entities. As they paddled out, the ocean seemed to respond. The waves, colorful yet grotesque with their plastic content, moved with purpose. They weren't just random, thoughtless swells, but sentient beings that communicated through their ebbs and flows. The surfers, each equipped with Lila's devices, tried to sync their movements with the waves, learning to anticipate and react. It was a dance of respect and understanding, set against the surreal backdrop of the polluted sea. On land, Miguel was waging a different kind of battle. His days were consumed with legal documents and tense negotiations. He fought tirelessly to secure marine protected areas and to push for stricter regulations on waste disposal. Each small victory in court felt like a breakthrough, but the pushback from powerful industries was relentless. They had resources and influence, but Miguel had the truth and a growing cache of scientific data from Zoe's and Lila's research. Zoe was often found in her makeshift lab by the shore or out in the water, collecting samples. The ecological impacts of the sentient plastic were complex. Each sample she analyzed told a story of disruption and resilience, how marine life was adapting to or being destroyed by this new environment. Her findings painted a grim picture, but they were critical in building the case Miguel needed for his legal battles. Together, with each wave they rode and each data point they collected, the team built a clearer picture of what they were up against. Their exploits and insights gained traction, drawing attention from around the globe. Environmentalists, scientists, and even curious spectators turned their eyes towards the warriors of the waves, drawn by their daring and driven by a shared concern for the planet's future. In their camp, every conversation, each shared meal was heavy with the weight of their responsibility and the urgency of their mission. They were more than surfers now. They were guardians of these mutated seas, advocates for a world teetering on the brink. Each day ended with a commitment to the next, to continue their dialogue with the sea, to keep fighting, researching, and writing. As dawn broke over the horizon, the sea murmured its usual chorus of warped whispers, today carrying an undercurrent of anticipation. The coastal arena was swathed in the vibrant hues of the sentient plastic waves, each crest and trough a spectacle of unnatural beauty. Kailani stood on the shore, her eyes reflecting the kaleidoscope of colors that danced upon the water. Today was not just any day. It was the day the world would witness the intelligence of the waves that she and her companions had come to understand so deeply. Nearby, Jesse checked his equipment, a custom-made board designed to interact rather than disrupt the vibrant swirls beneath them. Lila was tinkering with a drone that hovered like a hummingbird, ready to capture every moment in crystal clarity. Miguel paced, going over every legal document that ensured the event's integrity, while Zoe coordinated with marine stations around the globe to monitor the ocean's response. The event started with millions of eyes fixed on screens around the world. Kai was the first to paddle out, her board slicing through the plastic-infused surf with grace. As she approached a towering wave, it seemed to pause, acknowledging her presence before lifting her into a mesmerizing dance of water and light. One by one, Jesse, Lila, Miguel, and Zoe joined, each showcasing the symbiotic relationship they shared with these sentient creations. The waves responded in kind, cradling the surfers in their fluid arms, creating formations that defied natural laws, each movement a silent testament to their awareness. Amidst this ballet of surf and sentience, a disturbance rippled through the water. A group of industrial saboteurs, determined to maintain the status quo of pollution for profit, had infiltrated the event. They released a potent chemical into the water, aiming to dissolve the bonds of sentience that had started forming within the plastic waves. The ocean recoiled, its colors dimming, its movements becoming erratic. Quickly, the team adapted. Jesse and Kai used their boards to create barriers, corralling the spreading chemical away from the core of sentient waves. Lila deployed her drones, which dispersed a neutralizing agent she had developed, breaking down the harmful chemicals before they could cause irreparable damage. Miguel relayed real-time updates to their legal allies, ensuring immediate injunctions against the saboteurs. Zoe, meanwhile, collected samples, her swift analysis guiding the team on the most effective countermeasures. The climax of their endeavor unfolded as the ocean began to calm, the vibrant colors returning, brighter and more vivid than before. The waves, once again sentient, resumed their dance with the surfers, an even deeper understanding forged in the face of adversity. The global audience, having witnessed both the sabotage and the surfers' heroic response, rallied in support, their voices a tidal wave against the destructive practices of the past. As the event drew to a close, the team gathered on the beach, their eyes not just on the sea, but on a future where such harmony could be the norm, not the exception. The waves whispered their gratitude, a sound that, for the first time, millions recognized not as mere noise, but as a voice. On a blustery afternoon, with the sun casting a golden hue over the rejuvenated beach, Kai and Miguel walked side by side, their gazes fixed on the distant horizon where the ocean met the sky. Just weeks before, the waters here roiled with sentient plastic, but now, under Miguel's relentless legal endeavors, the waves curled more gently, carrying less of humanity's refuse with them. Miguel, flipping through a hefty dossier of legal documents, couldn't hide his sense of accomplishment. "It's official, Kai." "We did it," he said, handing her a paper that sparkled with the ink of new legislation. No more unchecked plastic production. And look, he gestured toward the water, it's already making a difference. Kai, her eyes reflecting the vibrant colors of the sunset, nodded vigorously. "We couldn't have reached this point without everyone's efforts." Jesse's daring rescue not only saved those trapped dolphins, but finally woke the world up to what we've been fighting for. Her voice carried the weight of years spent in the surf, battling the unnatural tide. Meanwhile, Lila and Jesse, a few paces behind, tinkered with a device designed to monitor the health of the ocean. Since the incident, Lila's inventions had become crucial in their mission, allowing them to gather real-time data on the recovering marine environment. "Look at these readings, Jesse," Lila exclaimed, her eyes wide with hope. "The toxicity levels are down by 20% already." Zoe, documenting their findings in her field notebook, added, "This data is gold. It'll help us strengthen the case for the marine protected areas." Her voice was steady, imbued with the scientific rigor she brought to their team. She adjusted her glasses, looking out over the water where the plastic once dominated, now retreating under the pressure of new regulations and a vigilant public eye. Together, the team watched as the community gathered on the shore, participating in the cleanup efforts that had become a monthly tradition. Children laughed, weaving between the adults, picking up the stray plastics that still washed ashore, their hands eager to heal the ocean that their futures depended on. With the community's support and the backing of newly formed global alliances, the future seemed a little brighter. Each wave that crashed onto the shore whispered of change, of a battle being slowly but surely won. Kai threw one last glance at her team, her heart full. "Let's keep pushing," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. The tide is turning. As the sun cast its final golden rays over the horizon, Kailani stood on the now cleaner shores of Maui, her eyes tracing the gentle curves of the rejuvenating waves. The once hostile swells of plastic had begun to recede, leaving behind water that shimmered with promise rather than whispered of neglect. Beside her, Jessie, Lila, Miguel, and Zoe shared a quiet moment, their faces illuminated by the sunset and a soft sense of victory. They had seen the change. More importantly, they had driven it. Remember when this all seemed like an impossible task? Miguel's voice broke the silence, his tone a mix of wonder and reflection. The others nodded, each lost in their own memories of darker waters and dire predictions. Lila, ever the engineer, adjusted a device on her wrist, one that no longer detected significant traces of sentient plastic, but now monitored marine recovery. We've learned that the ocean has a voice, and it was our mission to amplify its call for help, she said thoughtfully. Kai listened, her heart swelling with pride for the collective efforts and the technologies they had developed, which now served not just as tools for battle, but as instruments of healing. Zoe, who had spent countless hours cataloging the impact of their actions, added, "The world listened." More importantly, it acted. Isn't it something how the tide turns when people choose to not just ride the waves, but also listen to them? Their reflections were punctuated by the sound of waves crashing gently on the shore, a natural symphony that had nearly been lost. As darkness began to envelop the sky, Jesse looked around at his friends, his allies. We surfed the plastic tide, but the real challenge continues. How do we ensure that the change lasts? How do we keep the world engaged? It was the question that lingered in the salty air, unanswered but charged with the weight of responsibility. Kai, feeling the weight of leadership, knew that their fight was far from over. "We lead by example," she declared, her gaze steady and sure. "We keep showing up, keep riding these waves, and keep reminding everyone that the health of our oceans mirrors the health of our humanity." As they prepared to leave the beach, their silhouettes mere shadows against the night sky, the advice they embodied was clear. Protect what you love, voice what matters, and ride the waves of change with relentless hope. The journey, like the ocean, was vast and filled with unknowns, but it was theirs to navigate, and they were ready.